Hey everybody, this is Peter Palmiotti of Human Art Studios, and this is Making Comics and Art episode, I think it's 164. I forget. So many episodes. But we have Timothy with us. Hey.
Hey Peter, how you doing?
Doing good. It was kind of one of those trial type days. Me and a friend of mine decided that we're going to make some merchandise, and so we got together in a video chat and proceeded to some websites and setting up some stuff. And I thought my merch was 100% okay. Then she tried to do hers and actually jumped around a bunch of different sites and kind of failed.
What
Then I went.
what kind of merchandise are we talking?
T-shirts. And went after, like, she was like, okay, I need to do this on my own and take a little break and breathe. And I went to check on how good my thing looked and realized, oh snap, it's probably the wrong file that we used, because the image was a little quirky. So that has to be redone anyway. It's like, oh man. So that was fun.
Yeah, I'll look forward to hearing what happens there. You know, you and I talked last time about the merchandise, and that's something I still find really challenging.
Yeah, it's like different sites want different specs, or like have different things available, and yeah, it just gets to learning each quirky place you go to and getting the right stuff done in the right way. And yeah, so it was like 4 hours that went by really quick, and we accomplished nothing. So so hey, how was your day?
Man, my day is going great. I started to tell you before we went on the air here. So you and I did this one show together before, right? For my last book, and helped me fund my Kickstarter. Thanks, man, so much for your support and for promoting indie comics. It's a great thing. And I started getting information about how to, how do you phrase it? I started getting invited to be on other podcasts. So I had one today. It's this nice guy, James Stafford, which is Talking Codswallop, and it's comics, science fiction, and music. Actually, the funny thing is we talk mostly about music. You know, if you get me talking about music, I'll keep going forever. But
cool.
I wanted to say thanks to you, Peter, because you really kind of helped me get started there.
All right. Yeah. Well, and I appreciate that. Like, it's, I started at some point way back when and realized that, some people just need a push. It's like, hey, here's the thing to do, because this gets you seen around. Here we have Rick Sayer in the chat. Welcome. He says hello, Jimmy Fling. So appreciate those that watch it live. Definitely, like, there will be a batch of people watching it later. Yeah, since I don't always do these at the same time, and it's like everybody's schedule and whatnot, it's like I'm completely open a lot of the times. But yeah, that's cool that you're doing other shows, podcasts, and whatnot. I mean, that helps to get you and your brand around, and show your Kickstarter and get various support everywhere. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And the Kickstarter guys and girls have been super supportive too. So I know you are as well. I'm pretty involved in the Kickstarter communities now, especially in the sense of, we do the digital swaps between the different creators.
Right.
They buy your book, you get a free copy of mine, that kind of thing. So yeah. I got some action out of that too. I got some followers out of that.
Cool. That's great. So the newest one, because you know it's becoming a whole series of books now, right?
Right. I think this is the we were counting it last time I was on the show. This is either 8 or 9, I forget.
Oh yeah, you lost track.
Yeah, because there's a couple that are. I'll tell you this, Peter, and we'll talk about this as much or as little as you want to. You know, I'm never 100% sure which parts I want to definitely consider as canon, right? Because it was a couple of different titles, and the way I say it sometimes to be easier now. Like if you look behind me, there's the sort of the hand painted look that you see there with the hunchback. That's the Water Wars Chronicles, and those are like military stories and like science fiction short stories. The girl stories, as I sometimes call them, Water Wars 2288, they're like comic stories, and they're illustrated and rendered with these kind of attractive female characters, right? So if you've got a girl hero that's trying to survive, that's a 2288 title. If you've got like a military history and it sort of looks like this, that's the Chronicles.
Right.
So it's kind of two umbrellas, but all the stories are connected, and it's all in the world of the Water Wars.
Yep. And the newest one being Out to Sea.
Right. The thanks for asking. Lost at Sea,
Lost
which
at
is
Sea, right.
About a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now. You know, I work with Erwin Arosa. He's pretty well known in the indie community for being the variant cover guy. But just a fantastic guy to work with on pages, right? A very inventive guy, very creative, and he really can work with you on your even plot points and things. So I'm real satisfied there. But we said, hey, man, we should keep going. We should keep going. This was after the Hunchback story. And I kind of had this idea about showing some of the naval elements of the Water Wars, right? Like there's different things that happen. And one of the things, the central part of this book is it's a robot terrorist attack, and they detonate this cobalt mine beneath the tectonic crust, and the whole East Coast floods. And the fellow that we're seeing here, what we call him the poetry quoting sea captain, he's basically his gig is to patrol the corridor, and he looks for human survivors. And it's years and years, and he never finds anybody, and he's lonely, and he's out on the deck and reciting Shakespeare. He's kind of colorful, right? And stumbles across this woman lost at sea in a raft. And it's quickly apparent to the viewer that, you know, the woman is in fact a robot, and it's a kind of trap, right? But the captain, of course, is so lonely, and you kind of get it. He's ready to chuck the whole thing and just go with Marilyn. And that's what really the drama of the story is.
Nice.
And same as last time, that's kind of like your anchor story, right? And same as last time, it's actually 3 stories that are in the book. And the second one, it's called Robot City Blues, and I'm going to start doing some more promotion of that. And that is the story of a augmented veteran. You know, it's in the future. It's 2288, right? The guys have robot parts, interchangeable parts. But then once the war is over, they're rejected kind of back to this place, the other side of the wall, Robot City. And the theme of that one is he saves this girl that gets in a train crash. It's a human girl, and he has to run her back to the human settlement. And he does it even though he can't cross the line himself. Like when he gets there, they turn him away. Hey, he's 51% mechanical, back to Robot City. And so it's got like some it's a little bit more emotional story, I guess you might say.
That's cool.
But they are sci-fi. They are sci-fi, right? So we were kind of joking about it. I think it might be every single story I ever wrote has a robot in it. It's in some way. So you know, it happened accidentally. That's just kind of the world that I write in. So
hey, you know, everybody I know loves robots. So
yeah. Hey, and I've said this to some of the other Kickstarter fellas. If you like robots, I'm probably your guy, especially if there's somebody looking for scripts or whatnot. I'm starting to submit a few scripts to anthologies and stuff, and they tend to be robot themed apocalyptic stories, you know.
Yeah, most definitely. That's cool. So do you want to go grab the Kickstarter page and share it out here so we can go over it?
Yeah. I'm gonna get a minute here. I'll get it going.
Cool. Yeah, everybody that's been watching my channel knows I'm down to the last 4 pages of inks on my own project, Retro. This is page 25. It's essentially just the panel left. I'm going to try to finish this weekend so I can move on to the other better stuff, which is coloring, lettering, final script edits, book production, getting the merch started and taken care of, all that fun stuff. Here we go. Click on that and click on that.
Can you see that okay?
Well, you gotta, I see stuff. Not sure if you're sharing the Kickstarter page yet.
Yeah, I am. It's in the queue there.
Well, what happens is I see your computer wall, wallpaper, whatever, and I'm not sure if you clicked on the right thing.
Tell you what, let's try it.
It's showing us, and
okay, give me a second.
Okay, there we go. Let's see, and you could make it full screen, and maybe we'll see it better.
Can see that okay?
Okay. Yep. There we go.
There we go. There we go.
Actually, let me just make it. I'll just make it full screen so we can really see it.
Perfect.
Okay.
So, do you want me to sort of walk through it a little bit? Yeah, absolutely. So, about 2 years ago, I started writing books with Erwin Arosa as my artist. He's the main artist on this project. That's the Water Wars Chronicles. The first Kickstarter I had ever done was for this book, The Hunchback of Theological Quadrant 19. And we sort of kept going. All the stories are loosely connected in the same universe. I had this idea about 2 years ago, and I love telling this story. I was listening to this band called Sabaton. You ever hear of Sabaton?
I have not.
I get a lot of musical inspirations, and they had written a story about a guy, the Bismarck. It was a World War II story about a guy out on a boat. And I had also recently seen the movie Greyhound with Tom Hanks.
Okay, all right.
Which that's the one where he's he's a captain in that movie, and he's protecting the shipping lanes or something like that in World War II. And I said, hey man, I want to write a naval thriller. And what we basically did, and it always sounds funny when you describe it, but it's a naval thriller romance with Marilyn Monroe, and there are, of course, giant robots in it. So, it's funny, you talk about all the ingredients, and it sounds sort of odd, right? But it really does fit together pretty nice. And our goal was this time, last time, I think our goal was $1,500. I've been notching up a little bit on each one. I don't know, Peter, what you might think of this. I also heard that, you shouldn't launch your Kickstarter too close to the holidays, meaning November or December. I didn't care about that because I wanted to get it out this year.
Right.
You have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's November is good. Like I know, heck, many campaigns happening now. So, like, I think more people are worried about being, running during Christmas, if anything,
right,
or just before Christmas.
Sorry about that. I was getting a little audio feedback from you. I was going to try and correct that.
Okay, no problem. I was saying, like, most campaigns don't want to run during Christmas or just before.
Right. So, basically in going through the campaign, it shows some of the different elements of the conflicts of the future. It's based on an alternate future timeline. Basically what you see here, it's showing some of the ruined cities, and it's presented in almost like a historical type of setting. There's certain portions of it that sort of seem like something you could look up in an encyclopedia, and it'll tell you a little bit about each battle and each crisis that happens. The Kickstarter is presented as though it's a little bit like a found footage. In the 23rd century, they discovered this human transmission. Is it an alternate timeline or is it a hoax? You be the judge. This is Lost at Sea. And it tells you a little bit about the naval conflict. There's the one of the characters in our story, there's sort of a sarcastic talking naval computer. The reason I sometimes have additional robot characters too is because if you have kind of a solo story, which this one starts as with just the captain, he always needs somebody to talk to progress the story along,
Yeah.
So I try to create some other characters so that, keep the dialogue going, and it adds a little bit of humor sort of in the beginning. But one of the things you'll notice, there's sort of like this, like a hand painted kind of look, right? And it's some pretty serious art there. And Irwin had the ability, to just sort of capture these dramatic and very cinematic scenes and to really create something better than really what I had written. And it's like we say, the best efforts are collaborative, right? Like if you have a band, man, you get the great guitar player, you get the great bass player, and then you've got the terrific drummer. You got something, right? So as near as I can tell, it's the same thing with making teams that create comics. You got to get your all-star, say he's Eddie Van Halen, right? But then you just put him on stage and let the guy play.
Yep.
And a lot of times, I remember you and I talked about this, if the artist has some better idea or like some concept for a visual thing, let them run with it a little, because that's the whole idea of creating comics, is that, you can kind of riff these ideas off of each other and create something that is more than the sum of its parts.
Right.
Here's a look at the Robot City Blues. This is the second short story in the collection. The Robot City Blues tells you a little bit about this character, Seamus Murphy, who comes home after a conflict to basically a society that's largely forgotten him. And he's even really sort of locked out of human interaction. And in short, one day after a train crash, he rescues a civilian and gets her back to society, fully knowing that he doesn't have a place there. And boy, I tell you, some of these panels in this book, there's some full page splashes in there that will really just knock your socks off. Like it looks like some of the pages look like they could be just a work of art by themselves.
Yeah, it's a very cinematic.
Yeah. I know I probably sound like I'm exaggerating a little bit there, but we definitely put some loving care into the pages. This was another one of those projects. It took probably about it was almost 2 years, Pete.
Wow. Yeah.
So I'm one of the slower comic makers probably, but we always, the goal is at the end we put out an image quality book or higher.
Yeah.
The third element, you got to have some kind of benchmark, right? And I always have to sort of shoot for that because as you and I noticed, I'm not too much of a hero guy. I tend to be a little bit more lean toward the sci-fi world. Like it's not super hard sci-fi. Like if you like Star Wars or something like that, you'd like something like this. But it's also not, there's not people with capes and powers and stuff like that,
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. Likely that'll be another one of my projects. I love hero material. I have never made one yet,
Right.
So the third element, this is kind of cool. The third element of this new book is called the Codex. And people always say, hey, what is the Codex? Well, it's a collection of these historical panels, and it shows you the critical events from the world of the Water Wars. All the things from at the beginning, the artificial intelligence takes over. That's the founding of the robocracy. And it goes the whole way into the future, which is a pandemic of sorts called E76. And it's funny, when we first wrote this, it seemed so outlandish, but now it's less outlandish, where a government is forcing the population into these their emergency settlement territories called nests. And it leads to all sorts of problems, as I'm sure you could imagine. Many of the stories. So, of course, if you're reading the stories, I mentioned this to you, like this panel I'm showing right now online. that's the beginning, right, of Water Wars 2288, number 2. This is the camp that she escapes from. So as you start to read through it, you kind of go, oh, hey, this is the girl from the other issue. This, and you start to recognize all the things. And I did make some comments about, different people like different kind of things. And one of the things I really like about comics is that there's room for all these different types of stories and different creators and a diverse range of, you could talk about anything you like, right? So, well, what kind of person will like Lost at Sea? And the theme of it was going to be like this retro 70s science fiction. So that's why I said, if you like Planet of the Apes or iRobot or Logan's Run, you'll probably like these stories in the vein of the type of stories. For the illustration, it's patterned after like the DC prestige format books, like Black Orchid, Arkham Asylum, or Sandman. So that is the type of feel that you will get if you're looking at the book, right? And I forget if I told you, these are giant size too. They're what we call a 48 pager. That's before we add any bonus content, which we did that yesterday. So what's that? I think this thing's going to be like 54 pages.
Wow.
So they got a little content, right? It's not it's got some heft. And we did unlock the, excuse me, that's tonight. We didn't unlock this yet. The next stretch goal is the enhanced logo. The radioactive cover is what it's called. But essentially what it is, it's a two-layer foil trim on the logo to make it kind of looks like it's glowing, right?
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So one of the things that we always try to do with our Kickstarters, and like I say, this is only my third one, but we have, pretty consistently done this every time, is to try and the stretch goals improve the final product, right? So if you are checking out the book, chances are you would like this extra content and the things that go with it. I try to do that less than the, I think I told you last time, it was this hat. I'm still working on the hat, right? So, but I'm always concerned. Maybe you can give me some tips here after you do the t-shirts.
All right. Yeah. We'll see.
And so that gives you an idea of what type of person will like Lost at Sea. And we always want to give some shout outs to the team, right? Which is, you got me, I'm Timothy Fling. I'm the writer. That's me on the left. Erwin Arosa, right there next to me. He's the artist who I love him, and he's a great friend to me. Matthias Zanetti, letterer and editor. And by the way, a great writer himself. Many of the great lines come from him. And last but not least, Louis Santamarina, who's our designer, and he does logo design, cover dress. He creates the consistency between the worlds, and he's kind of like the catch-all. If whatever we need, he will make sure it's taken care of, right? So that's the team. That's a little bit different than the team that's on the other books, but something strange has happened. On this team here, we have sort of accelerated, and in page output, we're passing some of the other teams. So I was going to say, you're going to see Water Wars 3 is coming next. But I tell you, this team that you're looking at, our next book will be out probably in maybe March.
Wow.
So that's not too far, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah, so I'm trying to do, if I can keep this going, my plan is to do a Kickstarter every 3 months. I might go to 4 times a year, but that'll be a stretch for me.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure people will follow me that much either. Like I say, I'm still testing the waters, but I have gone up every time, so I'm optimistic. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah. Do you? Like, since you're doing this on Kickstarter, you can message your old campaign and say, hey, the
yes,
book's coming out. Yeah.
By the way, that's a great tip. And I tell you, of course, I got to be humble. I only have a couple followers, Pete. I got probably a couple hundred good ones, but not all, don't let me exaggerate to you. Probably 70% of the previous customers to me came back to each book, because I go through the backer report and I know these guys now, which they say that's a really good sign, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
But I have probably a small, I'm always picking up still a couple new ones each time. And I pretty much keep my previous customers here.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing somebody who's had, I've supported like 100 crowdfunders, on Kickstarter and on Indiegogo and whatnot. It's like, it's a strange thing because, you don't know, like, book schedules, like going in and supporting the book, and you don't know when this next issue is going to show up necessarily all the time, and so it's like, half the time or most of the time, it's like, oh man, do I have money for this time around? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I totally get that. And I think that's one of the gambles, right? Because you don't know. Like, I'm not 100% sure how you guesstimate your budget that you're trying to get. I think we might have chatted about this. I set mine to the lowest. I set mine to the lowest bargain basement price that I can print the stuff with. Because if I run the Kickstarter and all the marketing and all the time and everything that put in it and it doesn't fund, well, I don't. And of course, now the thing is, of course, the people run it again the next day with less costs. But that's not really effective for a guy like me, right? Like I'm trying to get a little farther each quarter.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the right answer is. I don't know what the right answer is, but that's a challenge for me.
Yeah, the best strategy is to reach more and more people each time. Like, if you're going to be doing multiple books and over a long period of time, to just keep reaching out to new corners of the world, essentially. So that, like you could touch base with the people who pledged before, but, nobody's a guarantee until they pledge,
So we'll take a look at some of the tiers here for the Lost at Sea book. I try to emphasize a cheap digital package all the time. Now that's up Periscope. That's a $6 package. Entry level, it's just the basic digital copy of the book. Now, when I say the basic digital copy of the book, we do emphasize digital rewards lately. Like we want to try to make sure that digital backers feel like they're getting a good bargain for their money. So it includes 3 things for us. We will do digital music, right? Which we do write our own songs. I forget if I told you that, people. We'll talk about that as we go forward. The second thing is in many of the books, I'm putting in what I call the director's cut. It's each story will have 2 additional pages. That's only for the digital version.
Cool.
Yeah, and the third thing is, in this case, we have a thing called the visual archive, and that the print backers will get this too. But it's one of the stretch goals, and it shows the making of, the black and white rendering, and like if people who like to see behind the scenes will like that feature.
Right.
So those are the 3 things that come to you digitally. And since it came up, we did unlock it. It's not a secret, but I haven't released it yet. We also took our theme song, which is the, by any chance, did you hear the theme song that's on the Kickstarter?
I have not.
Okay. We write sort of like these cinema style theme songs. And what we have done in this case for the digital backers, we reworked the song as an 8-bit classic video game theme song. Like we did the whole song, but with like the beeps and buzzes of a video game.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's pretty neat. And it comes with like a cover art that's going to be, it looks like Super Mario, but it's our sea captain chasing a big wave. It's really kind of cool. So that's the digital version. Wanted to quick point out, you do have an upgraded digital version. What the difference is, there's these 2 titles. You got the Water Wars 2288 titles and the Chronicles titles. So if you get the $9 tier, it gives you all I would call that the catch-up version. It's got everything you can get so far in the Water Wars. The Relic of a Forgotten Age, that is a print copy of a comic book. So, and that's actually one of our favorite things. We are print people here at Earth Dog Studios. I do offer digital versions of everything, but we print our products, and that's what we try to be known for. That's a pretty sharp looking cover, right?
Yeah.
That's the Commandy 1 homage cover, if you're a Commandy fan, by Jack Kirby.
Oh, yeah.
The second one is the romance cover, which this one has this is an homage also. It's from Young Romance 125, if you follow old 60s romance comics. I think I might have mentioned to you before, I'm a comic collector. So you probably figured that out already.
Yeah.
So that gives you a look at the romance cover variant, and that is the first one. Some of these are going to be available with upgraded logos, and but depending on how much we unlock, Peter, in the stretch goal. But if we unlock this one, when you see the logo, you're going to lose it. It's like silver and pink. It is like the cheesiest, which I mean this in the great way. Remember, it's an homage to a romance comic, and we're going to change the text. Instead of Lost at Sea, it says Forbidden Robot Love.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so awesome. It just screams 60s romance, and it's going to be one of the. When I say glowing, what it is, it's a 2-layer separation on the print, which the bottom layer is like a chrome or a holofoil, and the top layer, in the case of this one, it'll be like it's like a hot pink almost.
Right. Cool.
The next one, this one turned out popular, and it was by accident. This is the Stormbringer, we call it. This was going to be an homage cover also, okay? And we work with Irwin, and we're going through the sketches and this and that. And there was supposed to be, in the left-hand side of that cover, it was going to be like 3 heads in the air, like lights, similar to that old Batman cover where he's looking at his supervillains in the sky. But we noticed something.
Right.
Yeah, do you know which one I mean? It was on the cover of the treasure.
Yeah.
It might be the supervillain edition or something. But in any event, once we saw the guy standing there with the lantern, we were like, oh my gosh. Don't put the other stuff on. This is beautiful. And like, in other words, putting the other heads on, it almost made it too busy, and it took away from the power of the panel, right?
Yeah.
So what we did was just did it without the heads. And I took this to Baltimore Comic-Con as a print, and it was like a virgin print with no logo, and it was on a pearlescent paper. So it just looked like the lightning was like, it really jumped out at you. And that was the one thing that I sold out of at the convention. People were like, I got to have this print. Like, I never sell prints, but I think I sold 15 or 20 of them.
Nice.
That's a lot for me. The artifacts of the drowned Metropolis. We were mentioning before, I try to focus on stuff I like to do and to make. And the other thing is I'm a little bit of a pin collector, right? Are you a pin collector by any chance?
I love refrigerator magnets. That's my thing. But pins are cool too.
Yeah.
That's a great one right there.
Yeah, right. It's the Bomber Girl, of course, from like a 1940s any graffiti that you see on a plane or something like that. And of course, it is Robot Marilyn, and it's kind of fits right in with the theme, and she's got lightning cracking. That's by Matthew Moss. He's the designer of all our pins. I'm going to show you the rest of them. Like I say, that's one of the things I do for my Kickstarters. I don't do everything. Haven't quite delved into the rest of the merch, but been very successful with pins, and it's something that I kind of like, and I like to be involved in the making of it. And I love working with Matthew. He's just the greatest guy ever. I love working with designers because I'm a writer, Peter, right? Like, a lot of these things are well beyond my skill level. And, when you work with somebody, he does this thing, right? And what I compare it to, like, I'll describe what I'm trying to get out of a design. And as I'm sure you know, clients that are not designers can be very confused, right? And not even really sure what they want. But I always describe Matthew. He's looking at a forest, right? And he's got a bow and arrow, and he pulls that string back, man, and he shoots that arrow. And I swear it goes through all the trees, and he hits the design spot on every time, the first time. Like, he gets totally what we're talking about. So I'm lucky to have him. I'm in the last 2 Kickstarters, we've had some success with the offering all the cover tiers at once. Like, you can buy a set. That's the Tomes of the Faithful. That's all 3 Irwin covers. And one thing you probably noticed here, and I'm debating to see if this is still the right move or not, I am doing variant covers. It's something that I know everybody does, and kind of expanding in that area. That's fine. But in this case, I did not hire other artists, which I typically do. Usually what you get is 4 covers by 4 different guys. We made the decision on this one that this book was going to be wholly the artwork of Irwin.
I think that's a good idea. I mean, like, so the plus factor of having different artists is, like, supposedly, like, that the people that do anything on a campaign also share out the campaign. So if you have five different covers by different artists, that they also share out the campaign. But that's not always the case either. So.
Right, exactly. And that's man, I find the artists have been terrific to work with, and I love all the guys I've worked with on the team. That said, you know, marketing's kind of hard, right? And I think that even the people that want to help and to try to do it, I hesitate to say this, brother, but I'm not sure it's useful to have those extra. I'm not sure it translates into more sales. Of course, depending, look who you're talking, you know, hey, I got J. Scott Campbell to do my variant cover. Oh, wow. Hey, I sold, 1,000 copies, but I'm not quite at that level yet. I guess I would say, like, I got a couple of what I would call, medium well-known people in the indie comics world that I've worked with, but I haven't really hit the big, hey, I'll tell you this, I say this with no exaggeration. I think Irwin is the guy. I think he's ready to break out. I think we're going to look back on these books in 5 years and go, holy mackerel, that guy, he really killed the art on that book.
Yeah. I mean, if you think like movie posters, like his work reminds me heavily of Drew Struzan.
Yep.
If you know, like the old
totally
illustrator, painter.
Sure. Yeah, I follow
Indiana Jones and Star Wars. And that's, your guy isn't too different from that, like stylistically. It's beautiful, highly detailed. He creates a mood with his work, and it's good stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it. The next one is the Forbidden Scrolls, right? And what that gives you there, it gives you the first Hunchback book, the Lost at Sea book, and both issues currently out of Water Wars 2288. The material all fits together very nicely. And, even when I see this, I do think I love to be able to offer all those books together. But as you can see them all together, they are somewhat different tonally. So I think we made the right call by Lost at Sea being its exclusive cousin, And that even translates into the Operator's Manual, which will be the first graphic novel, right? And I'll take a quick second and explain this, because if you're trying to get every written story, you want to get this one, the Scrolls, because it includes the two that look more comic-y, right? But this one, same thing. It's 104 pages, and actually this just went over too. It's going to be 110, I believe now. But it's only Irwin's artwork. It is exclusively Irwin's artwork, and it's going to have some cool things in it too, like I told you about the additional content, but one of the things is during the making of this book, this very emotional book as it was anyway, Irwin's father passed away, and I really feel that as you look through it, you can feel his grief and his pain right on some of the pages, and there's going to be like a tribute to Irwin's father in the book, like a foreword, and it's going to be very, very touching. And he was a very special guy, and it suits the material too. And it probably doesn't make too much sense right now, but when you read through it, I think you'd be surprised at actually what the stories are like.
Right.
It's sort of heavy, I guess is what you'd say.
I put up a comment, and you might know this person.
Oh, gotcha. I got my. I'm on the Kickstarter screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got to switch back to see StreamYard.
Okay.
Oh, is he there?
Yeah. Showed up in the chat. Yeah, we have another comment, which I'll
there he is. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Erwin, how are you doing, buddy? Hey, he came at a great time because I was just saying all those nice things about him.
Yeah.
Hey, and this guy Rick has a question. Let's answer that. Have you guys ever thought about running your campaigns both on Kickstarter and Indiegogo? That's a great question, and I've been asking it too. I notice that's the thing that people do now.
I mean, I'm
going to turn off the share in a second.
Okay.
I'm getting some audio feedback on you, Pete. Does it sound okay on your end?
Yeah.
Okay, if it's...
But I got my headphones. I mean, there's nothing on my end that's different.
Okay.
So
cool. I'll put the show back on then.
Okay. But yeah, like I plan to do both. Like, you know, because I did initial funding on Kickstarter. I did a 5-day campaign. And that's sort of my plan going forward with whatever new books I develop and put out there. Is do a short Kickstarter. Then I'm going to do a 30-day Indiegogo. Welcome.
That supposedly is the way to do it now, right? You take, and you know about this quick starter, right? It's 18 days.
Yeah, that's like somebody's idea to just like do a speedier Kickstarter. Like, you know, like different people have different strategies. Here sounds like Ed 209. Oh, so maybe my it's probably my internet. If my voice is coming through funny.
It is.
So sorry about that. It's just, you know, the nature of things. But yeah, different people have different strategies. But it's definitely good to get on both platforms, because there's people that only use Kickstarter, you know, only pledge on Kickstarter. There's people that only pledge on Indiegogo, and there's reasons for that, because they take the money differently. You know, the money goes directly to Indiegogo right away, as opposed to, you know, Kickstarter. You know, once it's the campaign is ended, then.
And Indiegogo, I guess, is not necessarily goal based. Like if you run it for $5,000, let's say, and you get 4,200, you keep the 4,200, which Kickstarter's not like that. Right. Mo Biggs, can you tell us we have 10 seconds to comply? Go ahead, do it, man. It sounds like it. Well, I'll do. I'll tell you about this graphic novel. I see you got it on screen there. So the operator's manual, that's going to give you the full Water Wars Chronicles. It's all the stories that have been written. The Hunchback is included in that book, right? And it's going to have some great additional content in the back, including the Codex, a very comprehensive science fiction compendium. I think people will dig it. It's going to look cool on a coffee table if you got one. And this is another one that looks like we're going to hit the goal, but this will also be available with one of those. It's that 2-layer glowing cover. It's essentially a type of logo is what it is. The Rulers of the Deep, and we did get one of these. This is for the first time. I want to try a retailer tier and trying to work something out to reach out to comic book stores and, you know, see if you can get 10 copies into a store, right? I'd seen some people doing that, and you notice I kept it pretty cheap. You get a lot there for $50, I think. With the supposition, realistically, this is a $10 book, and it'll feel like one when you hold it in your hand. It's got some heft to it. And it's also, you know, it shows you there at the bottom the map. I didn't talk too much about that, but the map accompanies each issue too, and it shows you the battles and the robot uprisings, and it tells you where everything happened. The Mecha Beast. Okay.
It looks like is the map special in any way, like foil or something? It looks very. It is.
It is. But now, I'll tell you, that is a representation of what the map was going to be if we hit the stretch goal. We did hit it, and I shared it out. It doesn't look like that. It's like an actual map, similar to the one that we ran in our last campaign with some of the same locations.
Okay.
But yeah, that's just like an artist representation. But it is done and it's completed, and I already got it heading toward print. Oh, I forgot the most important part. Gee whiz. The back of the map is an Irwin mini print.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, and they're showing you behind that, it shows you some of the prints, and they're all gorgeous. The Mecha Beast, this is for people that like to get commissions, right? And, you can generate some of these terrific pieces by Irwin. He's great at working with these customers. They love to get the black and white renders. This has been a successful thing for us. And I think we got 1 or 2 of these already, but it's a great addition to any Kickstarter. If you have an artist that likes to work with the customers and do the commissions, it's a great way to keep backers happy. And of course, it's extra bread too for the artist.
Right. No, that's great. That's a great piece.
Yeah, they're all like that. The Memory of the Future has been a popular one too. Essentially what this is, I told you a little bit earlier about the Codex, and it's got the history of the Water Wars. In this case, you can be drawn in. We take your likeness, and Irwin will incorporate you into one of the short plot points that we've written for the Codex. For example, the fellow you see there, that's Jaka from Water Wars 2288 #2, who he's going to be in the new book. He's the leader of the Water Gang. So it's all pretty exciting to make those. And by the way, he really dug it. He was thrilled with his likeness and with his representation. He's riding on kind of it's like a dewback from Star Wars kind of. And he's got the mechanical weapon arm and the whole bit.
Nice.
So those are a lot of fun. We've been really liking those for. And this is a closer look at some of these covers. They're just glorious. Got the water effects. This one turned out to be my favorite.
Yeah.
That's the cover of the graphic novel. It's a wrap. So, you'll have the title be on the front portion, and then there's going to be a little bit of writing on the back saying what's in the book. Got the stretch goal. Oh, there's a better look at what the map looks like, Peter. That's the Neural Assault map, and it's not actually. Yeah, it looks like it's shiny. It's actually not necessarily shiny. What you got is, you see where it says "Lost at Sea," and some of the icons are going to be in this 2-layer print. It's like a metallic print.
Right.
It's going to look cool. The last one came out great. And we already unlocked this one too. This is the visual archives, which is going to show you a little bit of the making of. There's going to be a cover gallery. It's an annotated cover gallery showing which homages were which. And we also do a little bit of, backstage information about the creators. Little shenanigans.
Cool. Yeah.
Here we go. Here's the next one's coming up, which we're pretty darn close, right? 2688, you get the next radioactive cover. That's on the romance novel. At 2888, you get the graphic novel with the metallic foil logo. And then at 3288, we add the next song to the soundtrack. That'll be song number 6. So it comes with 4 songs already that you can listen to. Then I told you there's also the video game theme song. And then this is one that, to be honest with you, we haven't even written it yet. So if we hit 3288, we'll be writing a song again. So pretty excited about that. That's one of the things we've been trying to do, is to write all our own Kickstarter music themes. And it's one of the services we're going to provide, that if somebody wants to have, you know what I mean? When people play their Kickstarter videos, it's usually got a little music in there, right? So you can write your own theme. Say if you had an idea for your own theme, or I would help the client write one by, showing them some examples, things like that. So here's a quick glimpse of the add-ons available for the Lost at Sea campaign. And this is going to show you pretty much everything that we've created so far in the Water Wars universe. The first one, that's number 1. That's the issue that was pretty popular, and it was also published last year in Antarctic Press's Planet Comics Anthology, number 3. There's the issue that you and I worked on, Pete. That's volume 2, and that was featured on the show, and that was a successful Kickstarter too. And that one's pretty well received. That's got some great art by David Dion, and people seem to like it. That's also a giant size. That's 48, or it's a thick one. There's the pin from the last campaign, Citizen 0313. The Hunchback book, which some people know, that one was a successful Kickstarter. That was my first. That had a cool pin that comes with it. And there's the Lost at Sea pin. I tried to set it up better than last time. Like if you wanted the pin, but maybe not necessarily a book. Some people maybe just want the digital version, but they might want a pin.
Right. Yeah.
This way you could do that. And this shows you a little bit of the budget. Basically, I spend all my money on print. I put 10% in there for marketing. That's probably low. and I put 10% for shipping. I now know, based on my experience with the last one, that's way too low. Shipping's one of the big things now. But that is what it is.
Yeah.
You got to pay for shipping. So that's where we are with that. So that is a look at the Lost at Sea Kickstarter. We're very pleased with the way it came out. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, do you want to play the video?
Oh, yeah. I didn't know if you were inclined to do that. Yeah, hold on.
Yeah. I still haven't figured out how to do it myself. I have to ask somebody, I guess. But you can play the sound when you play the video, so you can hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's make sure it doesn't have the feedback that you got, because you got some wicked feedback going. But we should be okay.
Sorry about that.
Here you go.
Internet
Are you sharing? Okay, I got you queued up. All right, ready?
Ready.
Hey guys, this is Fling. Some of you know me as Holden. I am here today to welcome you to our third Kickstarter. Earthdog Studios proudly presents the next stirring chapter in the Water Wars saga, Lost at Sea. Lost at Sea is a 48-page, giant-sized sci-fi adventure featuring the astounding artwork of Erwin Arozzo. Our Kickstarter will feature original music, custom art commissions, and even the ability to have yourself drawn in to the Water Wars 2288 universe. There will even be a catch-up tier if you missed the first issue, and for the first time, I'm very excited about this, we're offering a 106-page collected edition. This is the trade paperback of the Water Wars Chronicles, available for the first time in print. So we're all pretty excited to bring this to you. The book came out amazing. I can't wait to show it to you. The Kickstarter is going to be tons of fun. We're going to have free giveaways. I'm excited. I just want to say thank you very much, and we'll see you behind the backer wall.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah, so it gives you a little glimpse, too, of the music I was telling you about.
Right. So, so just so we mentioned, you're already past your goal. You got 9 days left.
Right.
Backers.
We got 9 days left. We're at 68 right now. I'm fishing. I need 2 more to get to 70 tonight. If we got 2 out there in internet land, come on in and back Lost at Sea. I will tell you, I love to exaggerate things. Hey, we're all about marketing our books, right? But this is the book that it will make you say, wow, when you read it. When you put it down, you'll say, wow. That's what everyone says. And even if you like the other ones a little bit, which were very well received, this one's a little better than those even. And I think I'm not stretching it too much if I said this is Erwin's best work so far, I think.
Excellent. Yeah, it's looking good. So,
Thanks.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Was any of the music you were talking about in the video itself?
Yeah, that intro music and the end was our theme song.
Cool. Yeah, good stuff. So, I knew you originally as Holden. So you're still kind of using that handle?
Well, no, but I kind of have to explain a little bit because, the whole thing started many years ago, and Holden was always the one who was advertising and talking about the books because I was the one writing them, and I didn't really want to be, like it was at first. It was kind of cool to have a fictional character sort of representing the books, But something happened then, and what happened is people start to know you, right? And then you make friends on Kickstarter, and pretty soon my name was getting known, and it didn't really make sense to be Holden anymore. So and sometimes I still mention it, right? Because people, like, if I go to Comic-Con, they're like, "Wait, so you're Holden?" Or like, there's people that never put that together. Of course, people that are close to me all knew, but as you know, much of our relationships now are online, and half of my people I work with were people overseas, and it was creating a lot of confusion for me to be these two people. And I wasn't trying to hide or anything. I thought it would be clever, but it ended up being more of a pain than anything else. Not a pain, but it wasn't serving my needs.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I trust me, I know a lot of people that they don't use their real names. They just have like a sort of online handle.
Right, exactly.
And it's like, nobody really cares either way. It's your real name, it's your handle, whatever. I'll call you whatever you want, kind of thing. It's just like trying to, once you find out the person's real name, then you try to keep track of their handle and the real name, and it becomes the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't have any need to keep a pseudonym. It didn't serve any purpose anymore. So I just one day I said, okay, let's do this. And I guess I never planned far enough ahead to where, like, now my name is the one that's known. I guess I should have been prepared for that. I thought I was being funny, and it turned out to actually maybe not a very bright business move.
Well, live and learn. I mean, it's like, when I first was online, it was way back in the MySpace days, and I went by Peter Pop. That was my original name. But once I left MySpace, I went by my name. It's like, well, I'm representing my work. It's like I'm not going to use any other name other than my own name. So, but some people, every once in a while, I get somebody go, "Oh, Peter Pop." Yep.
Well, we're pretty satisfied with the whole Kickstarter. And Peter, I want to say thanks again for having me on the show and let me talk about the book. It's definitely been useful for me to do these types of things, and I've definitely starting to get some results with it. I'm still surprised, to tell you the truth, because, like I say, I don't ever know what these Kickstarters are going to do. I don't have anything to compare it to, right? So when you start to see, well, and I'm pretty soon going to be like, at the very beginning, of course, I'm not even covering my costs. And then the second one, okay, I about got the costs covered. I could probably make a little money. And pretty soon I'm ready to cross over into where it's enough to start financing the next project with it. So, for a guy like me, that's how I'm going to turn over 3 to 4 projects a year. Because, for example, I write the Socket books too, the Robot Super Team, and I haven't been able to, like, I don't know, maybe it's different for you, but so I was trying to make basically 3 titles, or kind of 4, and I couldn't really financially swing the whole thing, right? So what happened was, because I pay all the artists in advance, I don't recoup it from the Kickstarter. I don't think that's fair to artists. That's another story. But for me, that's the model that works. But that also means that sometimes I've got to, if I've got 8 pages coming due a week, I've got to put the brakes on something. And if I didn't have a Kickstarter for that book, what's the right way to say this? I guess if you have a Kickstarter for a book, you've got a little bit of a built-in support network for it, right? Like, it gets you people for your mailing list, it gets you customers on your Kickstarter, it like kind of keeps growing. But if you didn't run your new book with a Kickstarter, which, none of my other books I had done Kickstarters on. I was just making comics and taking them to conventions and trying to get people to notice it, handing out a lot of free copies, as you know, probably. But what happened was, I couldn't, like, I got myself to a place on that book, and it made more sense to start doubling marketing on these 2 series. And Socket is kind of in the back seat for a little bit. I'm ready for issue 4 of that. but I don't know. Do I run another Kickstarter for that one? What do I do? So that one's still on the burner, but I got to figure that out. That's a 2022 question for me.
Right. I don't see why not. It's like, I mean, my situation right now is like, I want to get more into my own projects and whatnot, and I have a whole slew of books I want to be doing. And, it's like, I don't want to give up working with other people. I love inking. That's my thing. I've been doing this for 30 years. I want to continue doing that. But I do have too much on my plate currently, and a lot of it is projects for other people. Some of it I'm not currently getting paid for, which is like why I have too much rather than just the right amount. But come next year, like I'm gonna get retro done, and I'm gonna get crowdfunded probably early next year. I'll probably be finishing off and getting out there like hopefully a dozen books, somewhere around there, like a lot. Because it's a lot of little things, a lot of bigger things. And next year is all about cleaning up my schedule. And then I can figure out, okay, really where do I want to focus my energy. But yeah, if like you could finance these books by your other project, that's probably a good balance. Like,
yeah, I think realistically, I might be a 3-title person, and that's enough for me. Some of the writers and creators, they work on 5, 6, 7 titles, and the different anthologies. I do anthologies too, by the way, but that's just short stories for me, so I have time for that. But I think 3 titles for me is going to be enough.
Yeah.
Because the thing for me is I still don't write full time or anything like that. I still work a day job, but I've kind of turned my hobby and my passion into something that I do make a little bit of money on with these Kickstarters. But I don't think that I could, like, if I start to try to cram too much in, I won't enjoy the journey, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I realize what a day job takes out of you. It's like, I did a day job before I started comics, and even a few times during. But I mean, like, you gotta find that balance, man. And right. Sometimes opportunity comes, and you're like, well, that looks too juicy for me to pass up, and it's like you do want to not do too much, because that's burnout. That's it's just your sort of joy of it goes out the window, and it's like I've met many people. That's my cat screaming, if you hear her. I've met many people at all different points in their journeys, and you sort of pick up little tips along the way, for sure. But it's like, I would definitely recommend looking into Indiegogo as a place to also crowdfund, because who knows what size audience you could have there.
Right.
And like, I have an art rep, and he's got his own comic, Tragedy, and that's currently on Kickstarter.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, that's the second issue.
That's a nice looking book, by the way. I tell you, Peter, the reason why I recognize you saying it is because it caught my eye. I said, "Oh, it's a nice looking book."
Yeah, and I've done covers for both issues so far.
Nice.
So like he did the first issue. I think he started on Indiegogo, and then he did a Kickstarter. This time he's doing Kickstarter. I'm pretty sure he's going to do Indiegogo down the line at some point, and
sure.
He only benefits from it. Like, you get extra funds for it, and you can definitely put that towards bigger and better merchandise and bigger and better books.
Well, and I'm definitely all ears. I tell you, by you saying that, I think I'm probably going to take a look at that too. And like I mentioned earlier, it was something we considered because, you get to the other side of your Kickstarter and you've got the books printed, which is great. But generally speaking, you still have all these assets, right? Like you're going to have images that you could use and the stickers and there's a way to make the whole thing work.
Yeah. One last thing I'll mention is whatever they call it. Like once you're is it part of? You could send survey out. Like you could send a survey out and then put a whole list of everything you have, like all the merch, all the books, everything, and say, hey, if you want to pick up an extra copy of this or this, sticker, pin, whatever, it's like that's an added opportunity for people to say, I have some extra money at the moment. Let me dig into some of this,
Right.
So, because that was done like outside of Kickstarter previously, but now it's like more in-house, so it's easier to set up and put it out.
Well, and my sense is, and tell me if you think I got this wrong, Peter, my sense is that Kickstarter is perfect because you can launch the project, right? And you're going to get the backers that are going to be basically your fans, or for lack of a better word, your followers, right? So, okay, you got your followers set up. But as you and I both know, that's not really the same as retail. Who we just reached are kind of like the what do you call them, early adopters, or stuff like that. So maybe the Kickstarter is your launch platform, and your Indiegogo reaches the retailers. By retailers, I mean people. It just caught their eye and they buy it. But my only concern is you're not splitting your pie in half, are you? Maybe you are. I don't know. Maybe the same customers are on both. I don't think so, but I don't know.
I mean, I've seen good results. There are different people that do it different ways. The people that do it at the same time, shush. My cat.
Yeah.
The people that do it at the same time, and I think that those people don't succeed as well. Right. Like to run the campaigns at the same time, it's kind of like putting, your energy into two different things. If you focus on the campaign in front of you, that's better for you.
Yeah, I think so too, because I don't know, maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but it takes so much to do the marketing.
Yeah.
Because I try to do a lot of marketing. I do the email list. I do an awful lot through social media, do Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm putting out tons of posts. You see any of my posts out there in the world, Peter?
Yeah, well, I'm not your customer. Like, I'm not really looking around online. Like, if something comes in my face, it's purely because, I was looking for something else. It's like, I'm not the one that scrolls through Facebook in the morning for an hour. Man, I got too much work on my plate to be worried about that.
That's the right problem to have.
Yeah. But, I mean, like these are excellent questions to just constantly put out there. Like, like when you're crowdfunding and when you're not, to people that like your stuff, during it and afterwards, like, ask them, like, message them directly, like, because I know, like, I made a post not too long ago. It's like those people that direct message you, hey, like, I got a campaign going on. I mean, like, that's, or, essentially they just drop the link into your, into
your DM.
And it's like, that's no way to start a communication. Like, direct message is like, you're talking directly to me, introduce yourself, say hello, like, don't try to sell me something right across the bat. That's like telemarketers. Yeah. I understand, like, guerrilla marketing. I understand, like, like, you're a go-getter. I appreciate that, truly and honestly. But that's also, like, I know for a fact that like 90% of people are offended by that kind of stuff. So
right, right, yeah. Yeah, I agree.
But like, you know, if you message your fans and people who are following you, people who like your stuff, and inquire with them, like directly, like, hey, you know, like, are you seeing my posts? Or are you interested in what I'm putting out there? Are you a fan of blah, blah, blah? You know, it's like anything and all the above, you know, and that you sort of want to, you know, build a database of information that will help you and assist you in your marketing and whatnot. Because I could tell you, you know, from my perspective, 1,000 ideas, but that might not work for you, you know.
Yeah, right.
But I think you're doing it right. I mean, you're putting together quality-looking crowdfunders, quality-looking books.
Thanks.
You know, I've read some of your material, and it's entertaining. You know, it's beautiful work. So just continue on, man. Continue on. Like, you know, not many people get as far as you have already. So
yeah, good point.
I appreciate where you are.
Yeah, I tell you, man, I'm grateful to be where I am, and I didn't. I can tell you straight up, I never saw any of this coming.
Right.
I was just a guy trying to make a comic, and here we are. It's going to be 4 years later, and man, I have 3 come out this year, and it looks like 4 next year.
That's excellent. Well, keep it up, man, and
Thanks.
You know, come on again next time.
I will. And hey, before we go, I just want to make a quick comment. Peter, I was so grateful that you had me on the show that first time, and I did feel that it helped the numbers of the book, and it did help me to get in contact with other podcasters. And like I said, it's kind of weird what's been happening. Now I'm getting other invitations to go on stuff, and a little bit I want to tell them, hey, I'm just this guy, man. Like, I'm not really, you know, I'm just the writer and really not that interesting to start with. But that's where it all begins, so I'm willing to do it, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's like, hey, like a typical podcast is as long as this one's been about an hour, you could be entertained for an hour. Come on. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we had a great conversation last time, and definitely enjoyed this time as well. And,
yeah. I like your interviews, Peter. I think you've got your handle on the indie community, and it's just a pleasure to do this for me.
It's my pleasure, man. Like, you know, I wish to be a part of this, and we as a collective are not going to get anywhere unless we support each other along the way as well. And you know, it's like, I wish I had $1 million where I could open up my own independent comic stores across the United States, but I don't. So this is my way of doing it.
Right.
So letting people know about your product and your book out there, and go check it out. You know, put the link down below. If you want me to add any more links, your Twitter, your Facebook, whatever, you know, just drop them into you know, where we message each other, and I'll get them in there.
Perfect.
Cool.
Perfect.
But yeah, so thanks everybody for watching. I did actually. I was working on this page, and I recorded an hour. I'll probably premiere that tomorrow, just to throw it out there. It was something I threw at my patrons. I have a Patreon account for anybody that didn't know. Please like this video, subscribe if you haven't. I passed 1,000 subscribers. I still have to get 4,000 watched hours, but congrats. I'll get there. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I've had this channel forever. It was a huge relief.
That's a big milestone.
Yeah,
that's a big number.
And I'm past what is it, 50,000 views. So you know, it's growing. But thank you everybody for watching and checking out the show. See you again next time.
See you guys.
Take care, everybody.